My name's Royce. I'm the moderator. We're in the Cochran Basin Stormwater Improvements with Mark Papich. He is the engineer for City of Spokane Integrated Capital Management Department and is responsible for capital project scoping, funding, and programming of the city's utilities project. Mark has designed and programmed water, sewer, and stormwater capital projects with project involvement from inception to completion of construction.
Thank you, Royce. Yeah, so in keeping theme with the city of Spokane coming after Dwayne, and then we've got Trey coming. So hopefully you guys are okay with a heavy dose of the city of Spokane here. So the project I'm talking about is our Cochran Basin stormwater improvements. Get us kind of oriented here. So we're of course in the city of Spokane on the far east side of the state. The Cochran Basin specifically is this brownish area here. It takes up a pretty good chunk of North Spokane, north of the river. It is our largest MS4 basin. So what's the problem that we're trying to solve? You know, we've got this huge basin that discharges directly to the river, very similar to what Dwayne just presented. It is our largest MS4 outfall. It's about 60% of our total. We have TMDLs in the Spokane River for dissolved oxygen and metals, and we have a PCB TMDL in development. So this, oops, jumped ahead there. So this grate right here, this actually is the outfall, and you can see that thing's ripping pretty good right there. And it can get a lot worse than that. So why do we want to do this? Well, it's the Spokane River. It's, you know, we always say it's our community's greatest asset. It's our cultural, economic, and recreational hub of our city, and we want to keep it that way. So hopefully this will play. So this is an actual drone shot of the outfall pipe here. This, I think it was taken last fall, but it's just kind of a cool perspective on it. So we're zooming in on it there. So that is the outfall there. You can't tell in this video, but there's always water coming out of that. It's, you know, in the middle of the summer, it gets just a little bit of groundwater, sprinkler runoff, stuff like that. There we go. So specific basin data. So the basin itself is about 5,300 acres. We've got 496 impervious connected acres. And, you know, with the size of this thing, we would have loved to have treated, you know, a 10-month or a 10-year or a 25-year or a larger storm, but we just didn't have the room. So we really focused on managing the 6-month storm. So the storm we looked at was a type 1A 6-month, 24-hour storm, which our modeling generated about 56 CFS. And it just, like I said, it just wasn't feasible for us to do more than that with the room and the dollars that we had. So we had to start somewhere with this. Kind of our first whack at it was, you know, we took the basin, we split it into 3 big chunks. You know, let's have an east, a west, and a central part of the basin. And then we further divided those into smaller pieces. So we had this total of 16 smaller basins. And what, you know, we started up in that northeast corner, the Arlington Basin, and we really started looking at things street by street, intersection by intersection. And we were just having a heck of a time finding places to put water on every street and every intersection. So we kind of backed out of that because the cost just got huge. And we started looking at, you know, where do we have city parks? And we have parks all over Spokane. You know, we looked at park property, school property, places where we could, you know, pump and or gravity stormwater to treat. But even those facilities, it just, the cost just started to it got too high. So we kind of backed out a little bit. And actually I'll jump back to this. And we really kind of started to focus on down at the lower end of the basin down here close to the river. And I'll show you why. So when you get down to the bottom of the basin here, we've got this, it's a 12-foot diameter pipe that comes through here. So we said, well, let's see if we can intercept that pipe and, you know, look at the available land that we have down here by the river. This is all city parkland in one form or another. So the plan that we came up with was, okay, we've got, you know, like 3 facilities here that we can probably put some water to. How do we get it there? So we came up with this, you know, pump flow control vault, which we kind of call the Cochran brain. And so all the water comes in there and it gets pushed to effectively 3 different facilities. The first one is the largest one is this bigger, this is the biggest facility here. And I'll go into these in more detail, but that was a disc golf course, and it will continue to be a disc golf course. It's just getting rebuilt. So that's the largest facility. The other one is a facility we call the boat launch facility. And it's effectively a kind of a river access point, parking lot area. It'll continue to function in that manner. We're just adding a treatment swale area to that. And then the other one is the smallest one. We call them the TJ Meenock Ponds, just up here, kind of at the far end of the project. It's the smallest facility, but it does take, I think it takes 1 CFS. And then the control vault and the pump vault are on opposite sides of TJ Meenock here. So jump to the next one. So this is the disc golf facility here. This was a heavily treed area. It still is, but we had to do a little bit of clearing to get this. You can see it's kind of, I think we've got 5 or 6 different cells here where the stormwater kind of jumps down. It's 4.3 acres, so pretty good size. Currently is under construction. And this project and the boat launch project were both bid as one project. So we've got one contractor working on both of those. And it was about 3.7 million in construction for the 2 of those. That's an aerial photo, a drone photo that was taken just a couple of weeks ago. So you can kind of see some of this terracing. So this is the upper end here, and you can see some of these other cells carved out. It's a pretty site, it's, you know, right on the river. The downriver golf course is right here. So jumping over to the boat launch, smaller, it's you know, roughly half of an acre. But one of the key things, aside from the stormwater we did here, is this access driveway here is all new. Right now, this is the only way to get in and out of that site, and it's just you can imagine that right turn getting out of there is brutal. It's a pretty narrow road. So definitely doing some access improvements with it. And then the pond system here, kind of similar to the disc golf, where we've, you know, got a settling pond up front, and then it, you know, terraces down, ultimately infiltrates into the ground. And also mentioned both of these facilities down on the river, we're going to use native grass on them. So, you know, there's no irrigation, very little mowing or maintenance, if any. So that's what that site looked like as of a couple of weeks ago. It's not as far along as the boat launch site, or I'm sorry, the disc golf site. But they are, as I understand, going to be out there working in the next couple of weeks and moving that along. So it's in progress for sure. So up towards the top of the project, these are the TJ Meenock treatment ponds. It's this facility right here is a sewer interceptor tank, and these ponds sort of wrap around it. I've got a good picture that shows a little bit better what that looks like. But it's the smallest component of the 3. It's only about 9,000 square feet of bottom area, and it was roughly $1 million. Pretty cool aerial shot of that. You can see this is where that interceptor tank sits here up on this plateau, and those treatment ponds wrap around it. These first 2 cells were built along with the tank here. So the piece they're working on right now is this lower larger cell of that, and of course all kinds of other stuff going on TJ Meenock there. It's pretty chewed up. So the coolest part, I think, is the flow control and the pump vault. Like I mentioned, there's that big, we've got the big pipe that comes in. It's a little bit hard to tell on this, but it comes into this. This is we call it the Cochran pits. It comes in there, and then we bring it into the control vault here, and we split it effectively 4 different ways. The first, option number 1 puts it into this pipe here, and then it comes down, and this goes down to that boat launch site here. Option number 2 sends it over to the pump vault, and then it goes to those TJ Menock ponds that wrap around that IO3 facility. Alternative 3 is the biggest one, which it's a 30-inch force main that pumps down to the disc golf course. And then the last one is just the overflow. We had to retain that overflow. So that's kind of where all that stuff goes. I mentioned the 56 CFS. This is how it all splits out here. The disc golf course takes a good chunk of that, which is okay. This was just a video that a local media company did on the project for us. This project is really exciting for everybody, not only us at the city, but the citizens as well, because we're cleaning up our river, which is a major asset for our community. And on top of that, we're also creating some recreational amenities down by the river that everyone will enjoy. So this location right here in front of me is what we refer to as the Cochran pits. This is where the large 144-inch diameter pipe comes into the basin here. From this location here, the flow is going to get split across the street from where we're at here. There's a small treatment facility there. And then ultimately, there are 2 large facilities down by the river. One is down by the TJ Menock Bridge, and then the other is actually runs through the downriver golf course and ultimately ends up at the disc golf course. So we're standing here down at the downriver disc golf course. One of the large amenities that we're going to put in here is a brand new disc golf course. We've hired a professional architect to come in and redesign this course and sort of meld it in with our stormwater treatment facilities. This is a really beautiful setting here. It's beautiful as it is. We feel like we're going to improve it and make it better. We're going to have 2 large treatment ponds, one behind me to my right here on this plateau, and then a second one down here on my left on this other plateau. We're going to keep as many of these beautiful ponderosa pine trees as we can. So this facility right here is going to be a great amenity for the community. The existing primitive launch that's straight in front of me here is going to actually be improved. It'll be new gravel, easier to utilize with turnaround facilities. We'll also have improved restroom facilities down here, as well as some walking paths for citizens. So it's really a win-win for everybody. So what will happen down here is the stormwater will come out of a relatively large size pipe, and it'll run through what we would call bioretention treatment cells, where the stormwater is going to settle. So really the workhorse is a combination of the bioretention soil that we're putting in, as well as the root system in the grasses filtering all those pollutants out that we don't want to put in the river. I'm personally really excited about these 2 major amenities that we're building because I love the Spokane River. I love to float it and fly fish it. And I'm really excited about what these new facilities are going to bring for us. To learn more about this and other important projects that we're doing, go to SpokaneStormwater.org. So challenges on this, with a project this size, there were plenty. And I'll go into each one of these individually, but we have the timeline issues, how we're going to pay for it, the cost of things, material shortage, labor shortages, and then how do we put all these pieces together and build it. So looking at the project timeline, so we started planning this in 2013, so it's 2023 now. It's taken us 10 years to get to where we are. Preliminary design, we started around 2015. That took a couple of years. Funding applications was a critical one. I think Doug is back there. I counted 7 different grant and loan applications we have for this work. So, any of you that chase ecology funding know that you're allotted a certain amount of dollars every year. So we kind of had to, figure out how we were going to break all that up to try and fund at least most of this. Let's see, environmental wise, we had to do 2 different stages, one for the geotech work we did in 2020, and then another stage for the construction work in 2022. So like I mentioned, and you saw in the pictures, construction is underway. Most of it will be completed by the end of this year, but we'll have some carryover work on the control vault with the pumps and stuff that's going to run into 2024. Funding wise, so all in, this is roughly a $22 million project, which is a lot of money for our city. We are an enterprise utility, so we do have money, but it's certainly not a cost we can afford. I mean, it would eat up a huge chunk of our budget. So so we had to figure out how else we were going to pay for it, which is where ecology came in. You know, at the end of the day, we did manage to pay for, or will manage to pay for, roughly 75% of this through grants and some loans from ecology. So ecology's been a critical funding partner for us on this. Cost, materials, and labor shortages. So I kind of show this as a cycle because I think all these things kind of feed off of each other. You know, the high bid environment, material procurement challenges, delaying projects, and I've got a bullet in there. We as a city even started procuring materials on our own, which is not something we had ever been involved with before, just so we could meet deadlines on things like grants and other things. So it's not a business that we like being in, but it became necessary. And then, you know, contractors having difficulty with labor and the A&E industry labor shortages. So all this stuff kind of boiled together and you know, created challenges for us on this. So sequencing wise, so we've got two busy streets here, really busy streets. And we had this whole area tore up in, you know, like 2018, 2019, to do, you know, those two cells on this pond here, plus the interceptor tank, plus we had a little bit of work over on the other side of the road here. So you can imagine how excited our citizens were when we said, yeah, we're going to close this whole thing down again for a year and a half. Not good. Not good, but it is. So the way we ended up splitting this out was the first sequence was building this pipeline here down to the pond. That was number one. Number two, which started last fall, was this pond here and this pond here. Three is the final touches on this pond here, plus the conveyance work and the road work through here, and then the last piece are the control vaults. So and then a couple other things. This is also part of the Bloomsday route for any of you that have done that before. So we're trying to jockey around getting that open and everything else. So it's also the route to the treatment plant. So not a good road to close. Key lessons learned, you know, really just flexibility and patience. You know, our scheduling issue, you know, took us 10 years to get to where we are. I know Doug's been reviewing this project for the better part of 10 years, probably. Cost issues and, you know, things change and you have to be willing to make exceptions, you know, whether that's using different materials on things because you couldn't find what you wanted or whatever the case may be. And then don't miss the forest for the trees. So like I said, we started looking at the basin, you know, and kind of this, you know, tiny little micro pieces of it. And it was, you know, eventually we got to a point where, well, geez, we have a great solution right at the bottom of this thing right in front of us. So, and then communicate. You know, ecology coordination. We've I think been pretty good at coordinating with ecology. And then our community stakeholders, groups like we have a very active disc golf group that really wanted to be part of that forest redesign, and they were just something that we didn't expect. So. And that is it.